And let's be very clear, Ukraine shouldn't have to give up anything. Russia should. Russia stole that land from Ukraine. So last week, Donald Trump met with Putin, rolled out the red carpet, was so excited to meet Putin, and then afterwards decided he was going to go ahead and meet Zelensky. Let's take a look at how this went. So Rubio was speaking with Brennan on Face the Nation, and Brennan said there's concerns from the Europeans that Zelensky will be bullied into signing something. That's why you have the European leaders coming as backup tomorrow. Rubio said that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to stop Zelensky from being bullied. Brennan said, well, that February meeting in front of cameras where Zelensky was dressed down, Rubio said, do you know how many meetings we've had since then? So what she's referring to is the last time that Zelensky came to the White House, he was wearing a jumpsuit, whatever you want to call it, tracksuit. And Donald Trump and J.D. Vance berated him. So this time around, Zelensky decided to bring a whole bunch of European foreign leaders, which was the right thing to do. And after Trump's meeting with Putin, Melania Trump sent out a letter saying, Dear President Putin, think of the children. Think of the children. Conveniently enough, you can see the bottom down here looks just like Donald Trump's signature. And of course, Graham, trying to get a spot in this administration, goes out on news and says our marvelous, wonderful first lady is appealing to Putin's better nature. Putin's better nature. What better nature does Putin have? Please enlighten me on what that is. Then Representative McCormick responds to Rubio saying that both sides have to give something. Ukraine has already given up all of Crimea, most of the eastern portion of theirs, and Russia is asking for more. Putin is not giving up anything. And let's be very clear, Ukraine shouldn't have to give up anything. Russia should. Russia stole that land from Ukraine. Russia should give up and give back that land to who it belongs to. And Welker played a Rubio clip of him saying in 2022 that you can't cut deals with guys like Putin just back in 2022. Poor Rubio, man. This guy here, he's a class act. And it was funny to me because after Donald Trump returned to D.C., after his talks in Alaska with Putin, you can see that a lot of MAGA was saying that he was working 22 hours a day in pursuit of peace in Alaska. Someone said, you got to be kidding me. How does he have this stamina? They said they act like, and then this person here, they act like he digs ditches all day when his job is just sitting, standing, and occasionally waving. And let's be very clear, Donald Trump didn't work 22 hours negotiating with Putin. It was also leaked out that at the lunch that they had in Alaska, they referred to Vladimir Putin as His Excellency. His Excellency. They won't roll this out. Spoiler alert, they don't do this for Zelensky. And after that meeting with Putin went so terribly poor, Russia media television goes on to say that's why Trump got scared that he will be bent over. They then say he proposed to Trump to shift the accountability for not ending the conflict onto Kyiv and its European patrons. Did Trump object to this? No. Again, Russian TV saying that they proposed to Trump to shift the blame to Kyiv and Ukrainians, and he said that he would not object to that. And then what we see is them do exactly that. You can see Steve Witkoff over here, who has been terrible in terms of negotiations. Says the U.S. and Russia have agreed on security guarantees for Ukraine, but the next steps depend on Kyiv. Trump's envoy Witkoff said he added that territorial issues will be discussed with Zelensky on Monday and that Moscow has made concessions on 5 Ukrainian regions. Concessions of saying, hey, you invaded our land, but we'll give you 5 regions. What do you think that does? That enables Russia to believe that when they go into another country, that they can take however much they want, because guess what? They'll just have to come to the table and they can take some more land. And the crazy thing about this, to show how much Putin actually believes that Donald Trump's own words, guess what? They resumed launching a ballistic missile at Ukraine. And then you see Donald Trump going on. Remember, I don't have it pulled up. I just got rid of it. But remember, they said to shift the blame to Kyiv. Here's Donald Trump's Truth Social post. President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. Remember how it started. No getting back Obama given Crimea 12 years ago without a shot being fired, and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change, shifting the blame to Kyiv. Putin can end this war immediately by just simply giving Ukraine back their land, as Brian Krasenstein says. They can absolutely just end this right now. Russia is the aggressor, not Ukraine. So Zelensky showed up to Washington, D.C. To no one's surprise, there was not Trump there to meet him. There was no red carpet for Zelensky. There was no Donald Trump clapping for joy. No military members rolling out the carpet. By the way, that did happen. Military members rolled out a red carpet for Putin. And you see Joe Walsh saying all these European leaders came to D.C. today to stand for Zelensky in Ukraine. They came to D.C. today because they don't trust Trump. They came to D.C. today because they know Trump is on Putin's side. And you can see here on a hot mic, Trump on a hot mic said, I think he wants to make a deal for me. Do you understand? As crazy as it sounds, which there's not going to be a deal. And then after they got done meeting, Trump took these leaders to his gift shop. His nice shop of all the different merch he has. You can see Macron having what looks to be some kind of a gift that Trump gave to him. And you can see what Trump is holding right here. And I don't know if I can zoom in. You can't really see it. It says 4 more years. That's what he's showing these guys. What an absolute embarrassment. Donald Trump then goes on to blame Ukraine for getting invaded again 2 days ago, saying it's not a war that should have been started. You don't do that. You don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size. They took probably a lot of money too. Remember again, and I'll say it for the 3rd time now, on Russia state media, they said that they asked Donald Trump to shift the blame to Kyiv. And what is he doing here? He's shifting the blame. Now, let's be very clear here and very transparent. Republicans have been doing this for the past couple of years. They have consistently blamed Ukraine because Ukraine was pushing their borders up against Russia, right? Remember all that? And then Bessent was trying to rewrite history, saying Alaska was a show of force by President Trump. It was kind of like inviting your uncontrollable neighbor to your house and showing them your gun case. So again, he was trying to sit there and say that this was somehow a show of force. But again, Putin didn't see it that way because, again, the next day, what did he do? He ended up lobbing missiles towards Ukraine. And you can see here Nancy Mace, who is definitely the pick-me person out there, who's like, look at me, look how crazy my takes are, right? She goes on to Fox accusing Biden of turning a blind eye to Ukraine, then in the next breath attacks Biden for giving many assets to Ukraine, then pivots back to attacking Biden for slow rolling aid. Okay, let's be very clear. What happened in the timeline of aid to Ukraine? Joe Biden gave aid to Ukraine as well as other European countries. They gave aid to Ukraine. Military assets more specifically as well, which is why when Republicans tend to use that talking point of $200 million, that's including military assets. It came with the restrictions initially of not to be used offensively. However, that was then later rescinded, meaning then that Ukraine could go on the offense. So she's just patently wrong here. And then Vance goes on to his interview just last night, saying the Russians want certain pieces of territory, most of which they have occupied, some of which they haven't. Again, they shouldn't get anything. A tough stance on Russia, saying, no, tough luck. Go somewhere else. You're not getting this land. And then you see Zink here, Ryan Zink, a Montana Congress member, saying the Donbass people there want peace. Crimean Peninsula, as Trump would say, is off the table to go back or stay with Ukraine, depending on how you look at it, and it'll end up probably with the land bridge. So when, again, they're saying, hey, you know what? They need to just give up the Donbass. No, they shouldn't. CNN said, what should Ukraine have done when Russia rolled tanks over the border and invaded? Representative Warren Davidson says what they should have done is going back to 2013 and 14. They should have been clear that they wanted to maintain a friendly relationship with Russia. Again, Republicans are trying to change this narrative that Kyiv is the aggressor. So what we're seeing play out in Russia and Ukraine right now is an absolute travesty. It's an absolute travesty because, again, Republicans should be taking a strong stance against Russia. I remember when Republicans at one time would always cry about communism. And the way that they're handling this is just totally poor. The strong stance is telling Putin, no, you're not getting back the land you wanted. There could be some other agreements, but you're not getting back that land that you wrongfully stole. You don't go and steal your neighbor's fancy watch, go to court and say, well, look, here's an amendable agreement. I'll just take the watch because I took it. It's fair care. Like I took it, guys. It's in my possession now. It's in my locked safe. I can't give it back. You don't do that. The correct way in handling this is saying you're not getting an ounce of land back. There is no concessions for invaders. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell to get notified of all future videos. And I hope you watch the next video. Thank you so much.